There we go.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Patty Plant. I'm a branch manager for Santander Bank, and I work in the Holliston office. I'm here with you today to go over the financial education program of budgeting and money management. I have Jennifer here from Junior Achievement, and she's gonna move the slides for me, so we can, because I don't have the ability to do that. So I apologize if I'm on the wrong slide when we go ahead and talk. So Jennifer, if you could move to slide 2, I think it's there. And I just wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, you can always put it in chat, and they'll let me know that there is a question there. I also, want to save time at the end for any question and answers that you may have at the end of the presentation. Okay? Okay, so the agenda lists the topics we'll cover. We'll begin by talking about setting financial goals. In order to achieve these goals, we'll talk about spending plans. Of course, setting up a plan is great, but you have to follow through. So record keeping and sticking to a payment schedule will be very important. Remember, in the most basic form, budgeting is about choices, how to make and spend your money. We will also talk about ways to try to decrease our spending and increase our income. In short, do more what we already have. But there are times when, despite our best efforts, there'll be more money headed out the household than in. We'll discuss what needs to be considered when that happens. Then we'll switch back into the positive gear and talk about saving more money, learning how money grows, and making investments for retirement. And so we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so module agenda and objectives. By the end of the presentation, you should be able to list the steps for setting financial goals, track daily spending habits, prepare a spending plan to estimate monthly income and expenses, identify ways to increase income, decrease spending, and increase savings, identify spending plan tools, and identify investment and retirement products, and identify which investment options are best for you. Okay, so let's go to slide 4. Thank you. So what do you want to know? Does anyone want to know, if you can put it in chat, does anyone have any questions at first, or maybe have any questions that you might want me to answer that, we might get to it in the presentation, but does anyone have any questions at first? Nope, nothing in, okay. So have any of you sat down and developed a formal budget? Is that something you've done or with others in your household? Were they interested in helping with the process, or were you basically on a solo mission? Of course, it takes a group effort to take a budget, to keep track of a budget when you have multiple people who are bringing in and spending money. How can we try to get everyone on board? What questions do you have about budgeting and money management? That was 4. Oh, so you're on 5, so sorry. Okay. Just like writing down your goals, you cannot figure out what action to take unless you make a plan. By developing spending plan, you are determining where you are going. Don't just create a spending plan and stick to it in a drawer. Follow a spending plan helps reduce anxiety because you know whether you have enough money to pay for your bills, so it gives you a sense of control over your finances. It also helps you bring long-term developing assets that can be used for you and your family to achieve long-term goals. A new house, college education for the kids, a comfortable retirement. So all of those are kind of set when you're doing when you're planning your financial goals. And I think that we are on slide 6. 7. Actually, I skipped. I said that slide. So sorry. Okay. So there are 4 basic steps to creating a spending plan. Keep track of your daily spending, determining monthly income and expenses, find ways to decrease spending, and find ways to increase your income. We'll talk about these steps one at a time. And we're on slide 8. All right, spending plans. Granted, it will take a little time and effort to keep track of your daily spending, but I guarantee that the information you gain from this exercise will make a huge difference in your understanding of your earning, spending, and saving money. Have you ever taken $20 out of the ATM, and in a short time, you realize that you used up the entire $20, but you have no idea what you used to pay for it? Let's expand that concept to all the earning, saving, and spending you do in 1 month. Do you really know where your money is going? So create a personal spending diary and record absolutely everything you're spending. No cheating. No item is too small to be listed. If you buy a simple $1.50 can of soda every day on your way to work or school, that doesn't seem to be worth recording. But with an average of 21 to 22 school days a month, not including vacations or holidays, that simple small $1.50 a day soda becomes $31.50 to $33 a month. Is anyone surprised on that? Would you be surprised? I am surprised on that. So now I'm on slide 9. Okay. So you don't need anything fancy to track down your spending. Create a simple chart with plenty of room to list the items and the amount you spend each day. After a couple of weeks or months, if that makes more sense, categorize the items in total amounts of each category. Do you eat out at restaurants more than you thought? Do you swing through the drive-thru a couple times a week and spend $5 to $7 without even thinking about it? Are there daily habits that could be reduced or eliminated? Can you reduce trips to the coffee shop? Knowledge is power, and now you have the power of knowing where your hard-earned money is going. And we are on slide 10. Thank you. So, spending plans. So determining your monthly income. So let's talk about that. Income is pretty much as it sounds. Money that comes in your household. This can be money from your job, from any type of income or alimony, child support, or interest or dividends on money you have invested. Gross income is the total amount of income before your money is taken out for that purpose, for other purposes. Let's say your job pays you an average salary of $24,000 a year. Does that mean that you receive $24,000 divided by 12 months or $2,000 a month of income? Well, it sort of does. You have a gross income of $2,000 a month, but money is taken out of your paycheck for Social Security and Medicare amounts to be held for taxes paid to the federal or state government. So your net income will be less than $2,000 a month and will be indicated on your pay stub. As you develop your spending plan, you should be using the number that is net income as the monthly you have available to be spending. And next slide. So now that you have, now we know how much money you have to spend every month. So let's figure out what you need to pay for it, and hopefully there will be enough money left over. So you have fixed expenses. These are expenses that do not change every month. Can Can anyone think of some examples of fixed income that they have? Do they have maybe a rent or monthly payments or car loans or cell phone bills that might be fixed expenses? But then there's also flexible expenses. Flexible expenses are amounts you pay often that changes month to month. So this could be kind of like your electric bills, heating bills, household bills that do change from month to month. Flexible expenses can change, but we do have control over the amount we pay for our flexible expenses. What are ways to change the cost of some of our flexible expenses? I can think of, say, electricity. Electricity, we can turn off our lights more often when we're not using them. We can turn off the televisions or computers when we're not using them. We can set the temperature of the house or air conditioning so it's not too much. The heat, we can decrease the desired household temperature on the thermostat so the heating system is not working as much. And you can kind of consider switching maybe your cell phone or get rid of a landline, and that will decrease your flexible expenses. So any type of ideas that you can think of to decrease your flexible expenses, you might want to write down and put part of your financial plan. Now we're on 12. Slide 12, great. So spending plans. So let's review the list of some other ideas of reducing spending plans. Now, there could be some spending plans that you have on your list that we have here, or maybe not, but this is some ways that we can reduce the spending. We can carry only small amounts of cash. You can't spend cash that you don't have in your pocket. You can use coupons to save money on items you need to purchase. You can also eliminate costly lunches out at work. You can pack a lunch with a few of your favorites so you won't be deprived of what you want. You paying your bills on time and eliminating late fees and extra finance charges. And the bad credit ratings that could come from late payments could end up costing you even more when you're making future purchases. You can also eliminate or control the use of your credit cards. When you only spend cash, you can't make a splurge purchase and delay the pain of paying for it at a later time. Be creative in thinking of it. Just think of the example of the $1.50 a day of a can of soda that will add up. You can actually bring soda to work or water or whatever you want to do. The example they gave me is soda, but you can bring some water to flavor water to school instead of stopping at the store to get one. Now, slide 13, please. Thank you. Also on spending plans, if you need to increase your income somehow, we can reduce expenses effectively by increasing our income if we can't reduce our expenses. But there are other ways to increase our income. Certainly adding a second job or a second source of income, like a second job, could increase your income. Items that are often overlooked are tax credits that are also to help folks in certain circumstances. Parents can use the tax credit and or credit for dependent care expenses. There are also credits for people who are putting money away for retirement. The Earned Income Tax Credit is a federal income tax credit for people who work but do not earn high incomes. If you qualify for this Earned Income Tax Credit, you can reduce the amount of taxes you owe and then maybe receive a higher refund. The IRS is the best source of up-to-date information about the tax credits. They will also be the folks that can help you with any tax questions. But just remember, there are programs that offer free income tax assistance for low-income, disabled, elderly, and non-English speaking taxpayers. These would also be a valuable resource to make sure you're taking advantage of all the tax credits. And we can move on to slide 14, please. Okay, so do you have enough money coming in to cover expenses that you need to pay each month? The best way to determine that is to write down what is coming in and what is going out each month so you can review and adjust. And add items when you realize you have forgotten to list some items. In the My Income column, list all income from jobs, self-employment, public assistance, interest, dividends, any money that comes into your household. In the expense column, list all expenses. The chart separates out fixed incomes from flexible incomes so you can see where you're able to adjust expenses if you discover that you need to reduce expenses to meet your payment obligations. There is another category that lists in both columns. There are more categories that can be listed in both columns than what is listed in the chart. This is just a simple version so you can review and discuss together and give you a sense of what can be accomplished by listing this information. I want you to notice that savings is listed as an expense. Maybe why do we think savings is an expense? Is savings what you have left over at the end of the month? No, there should be a plan to pay yourself first. Payments and savings are not extra. They are planned financial obligations for your future. In this example that you see here, income is greater than expenses. That's great. Now you can think about putting more money into flexible expenses areas like savings. And we're on 15, please. Okay, so records, payments, and schedules. So record keeping is very important. Just because you have never bounced a check doesn't mean you keep accurate records. Setting up a system can really help you with accurate and easy record keeping. Choose one place that you'll place all your financial records. When you walk in with the mail, make sure you pay bills in that special place so you know exactly where they'll be when you're ready to pay them. Organize your files into basic categories like income and spending. Going forward, you will know exactly where to file each piece of information, making it easy to keep track or up to date. Make sure you keep records for 7 years. Place a copy of your tax return that you filed along with any supporting receipts into a large envelope and mark the tax year outside of it. Chances are you won't need it, but if you do, it's gathered all in one place for easy grab. You can grab it easy out if you need it. Accurate records should help you pay bills on time, saving you money by eliminating late fees. Online banking and payment programs allow you to choose which day money will be taken from your account to pay those bills. We're on 16. Thank you. Record payment schedule. A monthly payment schedule helps you plan in advance for when you pay your bills. Record when you expect to receive income needed to pay for those bills is more information. Planning out a payment schedule means you can be sure that money has come in already and that that will be going out to pay bills and other obligations. You may have enough income in a month to cover expenses, but will enough of that money be available each time a bill is need to be paid? Missed timing could cost you late fees and other penalties. So a monthly payment schedule is an expanded version of our My Income, My Expense chart. Payments should be listed from the earliest due date to the latest due date. Notice that we included our paycheck from the last day of the previous month that will be covering the bills due on the first of the current month. Sounds confusing, but when you have something set up like a payment schedule, it keeps you on track, I think. 18, slide 18. Okay, so records payment schedule. A monthly payment calendar has the same purpose and essentially the same information as the payment schedule just discussed. The only difference is how that information is presented. We know that people have different earning styles. Maybe it is easier for you to envision the inflow and outflow by seeing information on a calendar rather than written on a list. Whatever method you choose, you will know when and how much money is coming into your household and when and how much money is expected to go out. By charting the dates, you can make sure both inflow and outflow are timed so that you are never trying to pay bills with money that hasn't been deposited as of yet. 19, please. And we've talked about a couple tools to help us with our spending plan. Can you think of anything that is common between the plans? Knowing the inflow and outflow and organizing that information. There are other spending plans tools, and not surprisingly, they are also focused on knowledge and organization. With the expense envelope system, each expense category has its own envelope: rent, electric bills, food, and the amount due and the amount due date is listed. As you receive income, you can distribute the money into these envelopes, filling the envelopes with the earliest dates, due dates first. The budget box system just uses a box and dividers rather than envelopes. When a bill arrives, it can be placed into the box behind the divider with the bill's due date on it. Are you somebody maybe who might be tempted to spend money that's sitting in the envelope earmarked for something else? Go ahead and pay that bill before it's due. There is no penalty if you pay a bill on time. 20. Next slide, please. Thank you. With the advent of with the invention of computers, the envelope system and the box system has been more automated. There are plenty of inexpensive software programs that can help you set up a spreadsheet to track income and expenses and the corresponding dates when they're flowing in and flowing out. There are even personal finance computers programs where most of the setup work is done for you ahead of time. Our one advantage to computer programs with financial recording is that updating information is generally pretty quick once the initial setup is complete. And page 21. There may be many times when the outflow of money is greater than the inflow of money. Although it can be tempting to just put your head in the sand and ignore the problem, it is at times like these that knowledge and organization can help you make the best decisions for your situation. You only have a certain amount of money. Which payments should I make and which should wait? Usually the most important expenses are those that keep the roof over the family's head and food in their stomach. So household expenses like mortgages and rent, electric, heat, and food should get top priority. Utility companies may have programs that help the customers lower bill payments if they qualify. As I said, having knowledge will help you. When you contact your company, you can more easily see if you qualify for one of these programs or check with local, state, and federal organizations to see how they can help. No matter what, do not simply ignore the problem. It will not go away. Many times, if the company knows you're trying hard to meet your financial obligations, they will try to help you. But if you know that you haven't paid their bills, they have no reason to do anything other than charge you late fees and make you pay more money. And 22. Okay, what if you can pay the monthly household expenses, but not enough to make loan payments? Review the outstanding loans that you have. Is there a loan that has a higher interest rate than the others? By paying that loan first, you will pay lower interest over time. As we just discussed, meet the challenges head on. Let your creditors know that you're having a financial challenge in seeing if there's a way that they can help you. Setting up a plan means you probably will avoid late fees and reporting to credit reporting agencies, which that will hurt you in the long run. Does it appear that having more expenses than income is going to be your financial reality for a foreseeable future? If so, it might be time to get some help. If you're unable to develop and stick with your plan, or if you just find yourself under an avalanche of bills, contact a credit counseling organization. Reputable organizations have certified and trained staff available in the areas of consumer credit, money management, and budgeting. Like the other financial decisions you make, do your research and choose wisely. You have no reason to be embarrassed and want to find a reputable organization who wants to help you and not put you into further debt. There are plenty of reputable organizations where services are provided free of charge. And number 23, maybe you have such an enormous amount of debt that you cannot get out from underneath it. Bankruptcy might be your best option. Make no mistake, bankruptcy should be always considered the last resort. So why would that be? If you declare bankruptcy, it may force you to pay higher credit rates and receive less favorable terms on loans in the future. Declaring bankruptcy can even make it more difficult to open a bank account, buy life insurance, and get a job because prospective employers can run a credit check to determine your history or financial commitments. Before you can file for bankruptcy, you will be required to get credit counseling. Bankruptcy eliminates most debts. However, certain back taxes like child support or alimony or student loans may still have to be paid. And so 24. How can you increase your savings? So some ideas are certainly reducing your expenses will increase the money that is available for your savings. Can you cut back on a little of eating out at restaurants, buying fancy coffees or sodas? Look at the services you pay around your home. Do you need to have every movie channel you're paying for on your cable bill? Do you need every phone feature like call waiting and call forwarding? Every little expense can reduce or eliminate, and that will add up. There is a saying about money burns a hole in your pocket, which describes people who spend money as soon as they earn it. Do you know someone who is prone to spending money like it's burning a hole in their pocket? How can the temptation for excessive spending be reduced? You can arrange to have less money sitting in your pocket. Ask your bank to deposit your paycheck automatically, and then there's a regular transfer out into your savings account. If you don't have it, you just can't spend it. 25. Okay, how can we increase our savings? First, we want to avoid the fees. By paying your bills on time and in full, you'll avoid expensive late fees and finance charges. Are you paying a fee to do basic banking like cashing checks at either a check cashing store or even a bank? Look around, there always seems to be a promotion for free checking. Take the time to check it out. That could put money back in your pocket several times a month. Did you unexpectedly receive a bonus or raise from work? Pretend it didn't happen. You're paying bills without that extra money. Simply direct that money to be placed in your savings account and let it quietly grow. Make it difficult to spend any extra money that comes your way. If you're used to paying a car loan every month, and once the loan is paid off, you realize that this is extra money. It's not accumulating in your account. Somehow you're spending it what you have, even though you have more. When the loan is paid off, continue to pay the loan to yourself. When you are ready to buy the next car, you'll have that money set aside to make a larger down payment, reduce the amount of money you need to borrow, and thus reducing the expenses, the interest that you'll pay on that car loan. So 26. Okay. Extra savings tips. Handle any debt wisely. Only take out loans for items that are essential. Don't take out loans for vacations you cannot afford or buy those new extra boots that you simply must have. Over time, once interest is factored in, you will pay many times over the original cost for that vacation or those boots. Pay attention to which credit cards or loans are charging you the highest interest rate. Pay those down first. You may still have money to make minimum payments to all your loans, but any extra payments should be made to those debts that are costing you the most. And think long-term savings. Does your employer offer a retirement plan where money is automatically deducted from your paycheck and invested in a retirement vehicle? Again, if you don't have it, you won't spend it. Many employers will even make a matching contribution of the percentage of what you invest in your retirement account. A great way to add your retirement savings account. 27. And so how money grows? Next, we want to talk about growing the money we have. Interest is a big part of adding to our savings. So what actually is interest? Interest is money that is paid to you in exchange for you basically loaning some of your money out to a bank or financial institution. Interest is usually expressed in a percentage. You'll see a notice of 1% interest. The interest payment is calculated based on the amount of money you have in that account. Interest is extra money, money that you receive for putting money in one location rather than another. And page 28. Compound interest allows your money to grow faster. When a bank compounds the interest in your account, they're basically paying interest on interest that previously was paid to you, as well as the original money that you put into the account. When opening an account, pay extra attention to the terms in which interest is compounded. Is it compounded daily, monthly, or annually? It is better for you when interest is compounded more often. And 29. So the real power of compounding interest is obvious when you consider money invested for a long period of time. The chart shows two things. Number one, even a minimal interest can grow to a considerable sum of money. And two, compounding interest can make a huge difference in the interest you earn. At the end of year one, you'll have $2 more than you originally invested. But look what happens as you leave that money in the account for a longer period of time. As each year passes, the amount of interest grows. See, year one, it's $2. Year 5, it's $45. Year 10, it's $198, and year 30 is $2,020. All this earned by saving just 2 quarters a day and investing wisely. How money grows. The annual percentage yield on an account is something to consider when choosing where you should invest your money. Although the interest tells you the rate which the bank is paying you on your money you deposit, the average percentage yield takes into account the effect the compounding interest takes on your money. As we just saw, compounding interest adds up. The more often your money is compounded or basically recalculated to take into account any interest that is added, the higher the APY will be and the more interest you'll earn. So when comparing accounts, compare the APY rather than the interest rate. The APY is a much more accurate measure on how much money you'll earn from each account. And remember, interest is income. It will be reported to the IRS by the bank at the end of the year, and you'll pay taxes on it, just as you would on your regular income coming in. You'll also receive a statement on how much money you'll earn and what was reported. Page 31. You have a little extra money to set aside each month. Are you ready to make an investment in a financial product that offers potentially higher rate of return on your money? Before you make any long-term investments where your money will be tied up and you'll be unable to access it without incurring a financial penalty or fee, make sure you have a savings cushion to protect you and your family in case of illness, job loss, or other sudden changes that may have impacted your financial situation. A typical savings cushion is one where you have enough money set aside to pay bills and expenses for 6 months if your income was reduced to zero. Does that seem like a lot of money to have in a savings cushion? It's important to start. Any cushion will be helpful if an emergency arises. Have you achieved that cushion? Congratulations if you had. Any money beyond that cushion should be available for investing. As when you are making any financial decisions, do your homework and make sure you fully research available investment products. Okay, so we have an activity here. I don't know if we want to go through this activity, but you can, it says to work individually for 3 minutes. I'm thinking that maybe this could be something that could be instructed at another time because I don't know if we have groups of 3 that we can do a breakout session for. So I think that I'll go right over to slide 34, if you don't mind. Does anyone have any questions that they put in chat, or did you want me to answer anything? Any questions? Because that's, I believe, the end of my presentation. That's Dan. So I guess if you want more information on financial education topics, Santander Bank has resources that might be helpful. Life and Finance platform. So there are, on our Santander website, there are links that you can go to for life events platform and any other type of finances. What is your, I see something in chat. Look at that. What is your #1 tip for savings? I think that you really want to take a look at how much money is coming in and kind of those flexible expenses. So take a look at, I have children here. My daughter is a junior in high school and she just recently got a car, and she had all this freedom when she first got the car, and she would go to Dunkin' Donuts and she would go to Starbucks and she would go to places. Then she realized that all the money that she was saving, she was spending. And so now she makes her, makes a drink here, a coffee type drink that she could get at Dunkin' Donuts, and puts it in a mug. So she saves money that way. So just take a look at what you're spending your money on and do really the difference between the wants and the needs. Okay. So somebody else asked a question, but it just popped up and I didn't see it. Oh, I think I have a chat button. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patty, we have one from Kevin, and he asked, when would you dip into your savings? Could you give him some examples of when you dip into your savings?
When you dip into your savings, can you repeat that again?
He wanted to know if you could give him some examples of things that would be all right for you to dip into your savings for.
Oh, okay. Yes, perfect. So savings should be used for unexpected emergencies. So if you have a car and all of a sudden you need new tires, you may not have the money in your checking account or part of your budget to get tires, but you have to get to work in order, or to school in order to make the money to make your income. So you kind of have to dip into your savings account for that. So part of your savings could be planning for unexpected emergencies. So that could be one reason to dip into your savings, any unexpected emergency. Did that answer, Kevin? Okay, so somebody else also said, what if you have multiple debts? Rather than continuing to put aside money in a savings account if you're still paying these bills, should you divert that money to other bills until you have no more debt? That's actually a great question. Yes, you really should pay off all your debts first, but you also want to put some money aside for emergencies, because if you're spending if you're paying off all of your debts and you end up with a flat tire, you're not going to be able to pay for those tires, or you might end up putting it on a credit card, creating more of a debt. So if you can think of ways to, even if it's $5, $10 a week, just putting into the savings, maybe instead of buying that coffee or soda, you can put that money into the savings. So you do want to pay off your debts, because you're creating more interest for you. You're creating, you're spending more money with those debts, but you want to also have a little bit of in a savings. So that's a good question as well.
And we had one from what do you think is the smartest way to save money?
So for the example that they gave, they said that if you put all your debts, how much money that you owe, in one column, and add your savings there as well. So if you want to say, consider your savings account as a debt. So when you get paid, make sure that you put that money in that savings account as if you're paying a creditor. Did that answer the question? How much money? Because I'm also reading things. I'm sorry,
Yep,
I shouldn't be reading and listening
sure,
at the same
no,
time.
we also have one, how much money would you suggest to keep in your savings account? Like, I know they say 6 months, but.
Mm-hmm. So you want to build up to 6 months.
Okay.
So you want to build up to 6 months of, so obviously right away, if you're making a financial plan for yourself, most likely you don't have 6 months right away in a savings account. You may want to take a look at how much savings that you could potentially save every week. And I like to break it down into weeks, not months. Every week, how much money that you may have extra, and then times that by 4. That would be how much money that you would be able to save in a month. Times that by 12. That would be how much money that you would be able to save in a year. Or, take that monthly figure and times that by 6, and see how long it will take you to get that cushion of 6 months of savings.
And Jaden had a question. He said, do you have any tips on how to stop the habit of spending money unnecessarily?
I know. Again, I use my daughter as that example, because she got a job, she got a car, and she's now on her own. And as far as using her paycheck to spend her money, and I let her do it to learn. And one of the things that she did learn is she didn't stop by and go to restaurants anymore or drive-thrus anymore. She also has a habit of having a little bit of cash on her, and they use that example here, which I'm happy to see that example, because that she learned on her own. She said, well, if I only have $10 on me, I have that $10 for a whole week. So I'm gonna, instead of spending the money on that $10, in spending that $10, I won't by that. We talk a lot about in my house, wants and needs. So when they say, oh, I need this. Well, do you need it or want it? So that also will kind of help you stop spending money unnecessarily, but just don't have the money on yourself. Don't have your money in your checking account, have it in your savings account. And then if you don't have the money there, you're not going to spend it. So hopefully that helps.
Oh, I had a question, and I know when they get a job and things, if they can do direct deposit, can they split their direct deposit and put some in savings and some in their checking, so that, they don't necessarily even see the money? It's not part of their, it doesn't show up as their net, really?
Yep, it's a great idea to do that. It depends on the payroll company that their employment uses. Sometimes it allows you to split up the money and have, say $50 go into the savings and the rest of the paycheck go into the checking, or vice versa. Have, $50 go into the checking and then whatever's left go into the savings. I caution you on that, because if you have a savings account, and we didn't get into limits on if you have a savings account and how much you're allowed to transfer a month. On a savings account, we have a regulation, a government regulation, and it only allows you to do 6 electronic transfers a month. So if you put every week your paycheck electronically in your savings account, and then you electronically take money out of your savings account via online banking, then you'll go over the 6, and some banks charge a fee to do that. So if the money goes in the savings, make sure it stays in the savings. So, but yes, it's a good idea to split up your paycheck if you can. If you can't, as soon as you get paid, make sure you put that money in the savings account.
Can I piggyback on a question with that one? Because that's interesting.
Sure.
There's also a thing where if you have your account open and you don't make any transactions in it, where I had a savings account open at a credit union, and they said I had to do at least 1 transaction a month to keep it alive, right? It can't just sit there, because then it goes, we'll say, dead. So on one hand, you can't do over 6, and then you can't do none. Why has this started? I mean, like, even with the fact if you do over 6, you'll get charged penalties. What happened that made this different?
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from. So to answer the question on the amount of transactions, like your credit union had, that you have to do a transaction a month on the savings, that's part of their terms and conditions. So there was part of the presentation where it says to do some research, make sure you know the type of, what the terms and conditions of the account is. The limits, so that the 6 pre-authorized. So when you can walk into the bank or use the ATM as many times a month as you want to transfer the money from your savings to your checking, or withdraw from your savings. But as soon as you do it electronically, then there is the limit. And that limit, so I've been doing this 25 years, it's always been a limit. And I think it's almost an obsolete and outdated limit. And I'll get back to you through Jennifer of the exact reasons for that limit. And I think it goes back to like the 1930s and how banks have to use your money and invest your money. I'm not sure. So I apologize for not knowing the answer, but I'll get you that answer. But there is limits, but the bank that is charging you for making sure you do 1 transaction a month, that's their own terms and conditions.
Okay, so so electronically means just anything on our cell phone or that kind of thing, but going into the bank is not considered electronic. Interesting. Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
it makes sense now. It definitely makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I really should know that answer. I probably knew it 25 years ago when I first learned about savings accounts, but that's a good question. And I actually want to know that answer myself. I completely forget, but I'll get back. Well, I'll give that over to Jennifer, and Jennifer will get back to you. Maybe I'll even have a little thing on it, because that's important, because I know my daughter, she was also, I learned a lot from her. She was transferring money because she wanted to save so much in her savings account. She was putting so much in there, but then she needed gas. So she would transfer the money over. Then she needed, you know, she was at the grocery store and she wanted to pick something up. She needed to transfer money. So she actually exceeded the limit and got charged $5, which took probably about 5 years of interest out of her bank account, because it's a, right? So I always think, you know, you learn from your mistakes. So.
And that's why I want to stress this issue, because the kids nowadays, it's what they use. Their cell phone is their best friend, and they use that for banking, and they use that for transferring, they use that for everything. I mean, yeah, we do our ATMs, but very rarely, especially now, are we going into the facility, or we're, you know, are going into even use a bank, use the ATM. So it's good to know that and be aware of that, you guys, when you're looking around for the bank accounts, and knowing exactly how to transfer in and out. And she's right. Just don't touch your savings account. Try to calculate what you have for that month and know what you need for bills. Thank you. Thank you for answering that.
Okay, no problem. But I'll give Jennifer the information on that. It's called Regulation D. So I'll give Jennifer information just for knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our presentation for this month. We hope you'll join Santander again in March for their next presentation. And Patty, thank you so much. Great questions, everybody. Great answers, Patty. And we really appreciate you joining us for this webinar. And thanks, Santander, for hosting it and sharing their information with us so we can understand banking and budgeting better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.